it was great getting all the team involved, and it's just sort of having that ethos and of zero waste and trying to be better. And then it really sort of stuck with me, and it's like it really got me thinking that this is what I want to do. I want to be sort of better for the environment, better for myself, and I think it challenges me as a chef to think about not wasting and using everything to the best of its ability.
This is the Deep in the Weeds podcast. I'm Anthony Huckstep. Zero waste in a food service setting when reliant on the flux of trade can pose many challenges. And although it's an ethos many commercial kitchens try to tackle, what's the reality on running a profitable restaurant and target zero waste too? Josh Donachie is the head chef of Bar in Sydney. Josh, how are you?
Yeah, I'm very good. Thanks. Thanks for having me, Huck. I feel like it's been a long time coming to come on the pod, and I'm really excited to tell my story and delve into the zero waste ethos that I've been looking at using over the past sort of 6 to 8 years and working at Re.
Well, we're excited to have you on as well and really explore how you're doing that, because it's something that's of interest for many in the industry, but it poses its challenge in a professional setting. Tell us a little bit about the restaurant and what you're doing there.
So I work at Re in South Eveleigh. I've been there since June last year. It's headed up by Matt Wiley, who is a real massive influence in the bartending world, and I met him in London like 5 years ago when he was consulting on the restaurant that I was working in, and we kept in touch. We were both moving to Australia, and he was like, "Oh, do you want to come on board and work at Re?" And I was like, I bit his hand off to go, because like the ethos that what Matt does there and what I believe in some sort of works together. And so yeah, we work with a lot of waste products, byproducts, stuff that's wonky. The whole bar's made from recyclable products. So sort of everything that you touch within the bar is made from recycled product. For instance, the bar top and all the tabletops are made from milk bottles that would have gone into landfill, 82,000, which is, yeah, it's quite crazy. But you look at it and people get amazed when they see it. Leather banquette seating's made from pineapple leaf. So the strands from that, and it feels like leather. We've got a piece of artwork that's made from charcoal from the bushfires in 2019. So everything sort of goes into, from the food to the drinks to the actual venue, is all made from recycled and upscale products, byproducts that sometimes is seen like not usable by others, but we relish the challenge and take that on.
Is there a sort of cost involved in going down that path to sort of fit out a restaurant in that manner?
Yeah, of course. There's a lot of costs, there's a lot of differences, but when it's something that you truly believe in, I think it's a massive impact. It's like you could say that you're sustainable and it just be a few items, but we really go that extra mile. So even though sometimes we'll get products from, say, a different bar or a different restaurant, it's not a case of we're getting stuff for free. We still pay for stuff, but at the same time, it takes extra power, manpower and stuff to create something completely different. So what we would spend on doing what a normal person, they get, say, the perfect piece of produce, we take extra time to create something completely different, or be it put in the centrifuge, be it rotovac, be it, there's extra processes involved, and it's really exciting challenge working with like-minded people, then really putting our story across to the customers and guests that come through our door.
Tell us a little bit about the program that you have in regards to food. I mean, is it really challenging to sort of target zero waste in a food service setting?
Yeah, it's challenging, but I think if you're within the right mind and you're in the mindset that you're within that, doing that every day, it becomes a lot easier, and you work closely with suppliers, making sure that we're all in the same page. For instance, I'll have my butcher will call up and go, "Oh, there's a customer that had only wanted this piece of protein or this piece of stuff. So there's a byproduct from that. Do you want it?" For instance, they had excess pig head once, and I was like, "Yeah, I'll take it straight away." One, because I believe that pig head's probably the most delicious part of the pig, and it does take a bit of extra time and care. And if anyone that's been into Ree, they'll know I've got probably the smallest kitchen within Sydney, but really, really create some great stuff from there as well. And you know, byproducts and secondary products, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're no good to eat. If you've got something that's overripe slightly, for me, it's going to have a lot more flavour. And if something's perfectly shaped, does it mean it's going to taste better or any different from something that's slightly wonky? Not at all. It's, if anything, there's more flavour in the stuff that's more naturally grown.
There's many touch points where that can affect waste within a restaurant setting, not just what you buy or what you cook. It's also with consumers, with what they leave on the plate. How do you manage the whole system to try and target zero waste in that sense?
So we're sort of like a small plates venue and predominantly a cocktail bar. So, for instance, the bartenders use everything of every part, the same with me within the food. But because we're small plates and based on sharing, a lot of time there isn't a lot of waste, particularly from the customers. But if there is, we do. We've got different bins. We've got one bin that's cardboard and paper for when we stuff. So when we're talking to suppliers, we're like, can we have as less packaging as possible? We've got one for our sort of recyclables like glass, aluminium. Then we've got a general waste bin, which we try not to use at all, as much as can. And then we've got also a food waste bin, which is just predominantly food waste, and then that gets put into an allocated bin exterior. So we've got a food waste bin, and we make sure that everything's recyclable and sort of good for the environment without pressurizing people. We all believe in it, but then once people come in and as guests, they understand the processes that we go through and they really go for it and believe in it as well.
What is that transfer like? Like what are consumers coming to you because of what you do? Like how interested and engaged are they?
So as soon as they walk through the door, they're greeted kind of by all the team. We all say hello, and it's all about judging the get. Not judging the guests, I think that's wrong. It's like taking on how the guest reacts to when they come in. We also we have briefings every day, so we know if it's repeat custom or if it's a new customer, and we treat everyone the same. We start with we go through our, hey, have you been to Ree before? If the answer is no, we go, oh, we'll give you the full rundown. This is what we do. This is how we process stuff. For instance, you're sat on pineapple leaf, or your table's made from milk bottles, and then it's all about engaging. And it's a real great hospitality venue because I feel as soon as you've got the customer engaged and you start telling the story, they really get behind what we do as well. And sometimes we'll have something that's deemed unusual on the menu. For instance, there was a drink that had a chicken feet caramel. If I was to tell you salted caramel, you'd think that's normal, but because we've extracted the fat from chicken feet, which is often seen as a waste product but is a great flavor, it's getting that across, and people really go for it as well. And when you get people really interacted and really enjoying it, it makes our life a lot easier explaining what else we do and stuff. It's really, really challenging, but really exciting as well for the customer and the guest that comes through the door.
Well, I want to explore your creative side and what you're doing there and the impact that it has on dish creation a little later on. But take us back to when you were young. Whereabouts did you grow up and what sort of role did food play?
So, as you can probably tell from my accent, I'm from the UK. I was born just outside of Birmingham. So I'm half Scottish, half English. So my dad's from Glasgow, my mum's from Liverpool. And so then growing up in the Midlands, it's really fun. My earliest sort of childhood memories was watching my grandfather cook, and that's what started me getting into cooking. I don't know if it's him to blame for where I am now, but it was he was always coming home from work cooking with fresh produce, whereas my other cousins would sort of be playing football, playing board games or whatever. I'd be watching him cook and be fascinated from the age probably like 6, just watching him going, why are you doing that? Why are you using this? Why are you doing that? Why have you got good knives compared to what my mum's got? And I was really fascinated. Then it got to the point when I was sort of 8, 9, and I started cooking myself. I was like, even though it'd be like basic pastas and stuff, I'd cook for my mom coming home from work and be like, "Oh, mum, I've made this. What do you think?" And then it sort of got I sort of got exploring then. We had a family friend who owned a restaurant, and I think at the age of 12, I started a few kitchen hand shifts, and then it wasn't slave labor or anything like that. It was just me being curious and fascinated by food, and from that, I think it was within 3 months I started working on the larder section of that restaurant, which was a vegetarian restaurant. So at the time was quite unheard of, but we had like a real great following, and it was really interesting because I knew I made the right decision that wanting to be a chef from an early age and taking inspiration from my grandfather, watching him cook. And then I knew as soon as I was in that kitchen, I was like, when I first started as a kitchen hand, I was just asking, why is that? What's that? What's that? Why are you doing that? Why are you doing that? And it's like the washing up would be piling up, and I was more curious about the cooking. And so I think it was probably a good move to get me off the kitchen hand. I wasn't the quickest, but everything was thoroughly clean and stuff I'd done. But I was just so inspired by watching the chefs and just having that nosy and curiosity about myself, knowing this is what I want to do. As soon as I finish school, I want to go to culinary college. I definitely need to be a chef because I can't see myself doing anything else really.
What was the first sort of steps in a commercial kitchen career-wise as a chef like? And, what were the really important venues and people as you started to build your career?
So when I left school back in 2005. I decided to go to catering college. I went to the Birmingham College of Food, which was regarded one of the best within the UK. And it was run like a proper restaurant when you worked in the restaurant, learning all the basics from why you're slicing something a certain way, why you're dicing something, and why we use this part of the animal, this part of the fish, this part of the vegetable. And then, so from that, I moved on from where I was working and got myself a job in a local brasserie. And I stayed with my head chef that was there at the time, a guy called Dan Forber. He was a massive inspiration to me, and I remember he was like, "Oh, have you got any cookbooks?" I've got a few. I've got Jamie Oliver this, and then he handed me Les Al cookbook by Anthony Bourdain, and I was fascinated. Like, this guy? He's kind of a bit of a punk. I see myself as a bit of a punk, and then it went on from there. And I went with him to different venues every time he sort of took me along every time, and then started out as a common chef. Then 5 years later, I was his sous chef, and it was really inspirational to stay with that one person because we both had a great food ethos, and he had a massive part in molding my career. And from that, he was like, eventually, you're going to need to move on from me because you want to push yourself more, you want to keep going, and then yeah, I did. If it wasn't for him pushing me, I'd have probably stayed there forever and worked with him forever. But I had a great foundation, a great core from my college and from him to move on and do what I really love and really push myself further within my career.
In the UK, they have Masterchef, the professionals, rather than consumers sort of going head to head. What was that experience like?
Masterchef The Professionals is probably one of the most daunting things I've ever done. It was amazing, really opened my eyes and really made me, I think, a better chef because I got through to the semi-finals, did very well. But like one of the first challenges was to do, it was a scallop three ways and using the zucchini flour. And the first challenge I saw Marcus Waring, Monica Gillette and Greg Wallace, the three judges, and I was shaking, and it was kind of, I mucked up and I was like, God, I've really got to pull my socks up and push on my next challenge, else I'm going home. And having previous head chefs that have been on the show and got to the quarterfinals, I was like, if I go out first round, I'm never going to hear the end of this. So yeah, I mucked up my first skills test, but then went on to do my signatures dish and got through to the quarterfinals, which was great. I think once I got over my nerves from that first round and I just realised this is my job, this is what I do every day, the next dish I was cooking was a dish that I rehearsed, knew very well. I did I did quite well, ended up as a semi-finalist, which, you know, I I thought I could get that far, but when you're up against great chefs that are in, and it's kind of weird as a competition, you obviously you want to win, but when you're up against people that you've met, you spend a lot of time with, you want them to do well as well. And most of the time, when you see the TV, you think, oh, they just go in, they do this, that. It is very realistic. It is to the time, and but a lot of the times, sort of waiting around backstage, you're wondering, you're going, oh, did I do enough? Did I do this? And then like the nerves kick in, and then you've got your other chefs that have now become friends, and I still talk to a lot of them. They're like, no, you did all right, you're fine. And then it was just, yeah, a great experience all in all, and I'd recommend any chef that gets a chance in the UK to do it, because it opened up a lot of doors for me. From that, I got to do a lot of food festivals and showing dishes that I do at restaurants. I got to open up a restaurant for somebody, and then you get yourself noticed. I think that's the main reason you go on it. You want to push on with your career. You want to work as hard as you can, and then it really opened a lot of doors. And without doing that, I don't think I'd be where I am today, and I wouldn't have met Matt Wiley and work alongside him.
Tell us about your time with Adam Handling.
Yeah, so working with Adam, I was a sous chef, and worked at a restaurant called The Frog. So that was his original restaurant, and now he's got Frog by Adam Handling, which was his now become his flagship. Adam was probably the best chef I've worked for. Really inspirational. He's gone on to win a Michelin star, and I was so proud to be part of that journey from the start. One thing with Adam, he was always willing to push people to their limits, but was a great boss as well. We got in, we worked hard. We'd start at 8 in the morning. I'd make sure I was there for 7:30, put the deliveries away, check fridges, a good usual job as a sous chef, making sure everything's ticking over. And then the great thing about Adam, he wasn't just like, I'm writing the menu. He'd want everyone to put a dish on the menu and put everything down from junior staff up to senior staff. So we'd always push our limits. We'd work close to the seasons. We also had we had a farm as well, which was out the city of London. It was down in Kent, which we went and visited to see what produce is growing, when it's growing. And then we devised menus around that. And that's when I first got into this like zero waste sort of ethos and working. It's kind of like if you're putting something in the bin, you're throwing away money. And so a lot of our byproducts from the Frog, we'd go into our cafe that we had, which was called Bean and Wheat. So we'd make salads, we'd make brownies, we'd make with whatever offcuts or whatever we thought was going. So it really got us thinking about what's good for your GP. Why would we throw something? So that's when I first got into like, oh, fermentation works, pickling works. Oh, I'm going to make a vinegar from this. So this is when I really got fascinated with making beer vinegar. It was probably one of the first vinegars that I made. And at the end of the week, when the clean lines to be beer got poured through, then I started making vinegars from that. Then we'd use that into dishes, and it adds like different dimensions. I think like acidity plays a massive part in food and sometimes gets overlooked. And then we I remember when it was sort of wild garlic season. In the UK, we get a great abundance of wild garlic. It'll be leaves, stems, flowers. We used to process probably about 80 to 100 kilos of wild garlic at one point. So at one point, every chef would be like, want to be doing the stems. We'd make a pickle, we'd pickle the stems, or we'd pickle salt and pickle the birds, make capers, we'd make wild garlic oil. And it was great getting all the team involved. And it's just sort of having that ethos and of zero waste and trying to be better. And then it really sort of stuck with me. And with everything I do now, I try and use everything. For instance, when we had a dish on with cauliflower at the Frog with a pork dish, and we use every part of the cauliflower, even down to the leaves, even down to the stems. So the florets would be made into roasted caramelized puree. The stem would then be salted and then pickled. The leaves would be deep fried, and sort of it made me wonder. It's like, why do we waste stuff? Even when we peel carrots, we'd fry the carrots, the peelings, and that'd be part of one of the snacks that we started, which we served like I think it was a carrot, like a roasted carrot and pickled sort of puree on a seaweed cracker. Then we'd serve it on top of the carrot crisps, and it's like it really got me thinking that this is what I want to do. I want to be sort of better for the environment, better for myself, and I think it challenges me as a chef to think about not wasting and using everything to the best of its ability.
How did you end up in Australia?
So I've got a young daughter, and my fiance is from Australia, and when our daughter was born 5 years ago, we was like, it was kind of Brexit was just happening in the UK, and I was just like, I'm not sure I want to be with that. I don't think it's going to work, and we decided to move over to Australia. And I think it was probably, looking back now, it's probably the best decision I've ever made, because I was excited about using new products. I love the lifestyle that we have in Australia. It's something completely different. And as soon as I landed, it felt like home. It was, and yeah, getting to see new products and being fascinated with Australian cuisine, because I think I've kind of had to adapt myself from being like modern British to more of an Australian way of thinking. And I think the good thing about Australian food, it seems like it's a lot cleaner and like less fussy. Whereas in the UK, we could go, oh, almost add too much. And I think from my influences of food and stuff, I think it suits me a lot more. And the produce you get over here is probably the best I've seen in the world.
You're also a keen forager. Do you have any stories of the expeditions you've been on doing that?
Quite a funny one. So earlier in my career, we used to pick brambles, blackberries, and a lot of the time it'd be either by train tracks or it'd be by streams. So I was foraging. It was October, and October over here, normally quite warm and pleasant. In the UK, in the north of England, not so much. So I was foraging these blackberries and brambles, and next thing I know, I slipped and I've ended up in a icy cold stream. And probably not my best moment, but the good thing is I didn't lose any of the blackberries that I foraged. I was soaking, and walked back up to the restaurant. They're like, "What's happened to you?" And I was like, "Yeah, long story. Lost my footing. Next thing you know, I'm in a stream, and but luckily I could swim, and it was just a wake up call to get ready for service again."
Is foraging quite different in Australia to the UK?
Yeah, it's very different, because obviously I found in the UK I knew what I was looking for. For instance, I use a weed called pineapple weed. It's got this really great pineapple flavour, and you can see it everywhere. And it's about in Australia, it was about learning what's new, what's safe to eat. For instance, on the street at Ree, we've got loads of saltbush, we've got lemon myrtle, we've got society garlic, we've got jasmine, and then there's a place that we go foraging which has got passion fruit marigold. There's a lot of different things. So it was all about learning about these new flavour profiles. Is it safe to eat? Can I use this part of it? And I live up on the Central Coast, so I'll go onto the beach. I can get seaweed. We used to get golden kelp at a restaurant I worked in, and it's about learning these new things, and that's what really excites me about Australia, because something will come up and I'll be like, "What's that? What's that taste like?" And being sort of keen to try everything. It's really fun to see what Australia has available, and the larder is fantastic. And then learning how to use these new flavors, and like, well, I couldn't get this in the UK. How can I incorporate this into a dish? And that's really exciting as well. And it's great to interact when you go to a guest. It's like, "Oh yeah, we got this and we picked it 10 yards away," and they're like, "What, really? That's what grows there?" And it's like, "Yeah." And it's all part of the education, for one, for myself, and two, for the guests. And I think it really goes a long way.
Tell us a little bit about your food and creativity. Obviously, it's changed since you moved from the UK, but also, with the zero waste approach, how does that impact on creativity?
If anything, I think it makes you more creative, because, when you're in a restaurant, you can have the perfect protein, or you can have the perfect vegetable, the perfect fruit. You like it. It becomes easy. You can do this, and then you go, oh, what can I do with carrot offcuts and pumpkin seed that normally gets thrown away, or the carrot top? So we used to have at Ree, we used to have a dish on. It was carrot hummus. So I used to use carrot offcuts. So I used to talk, well, still do talk closely with Sydney Direct. We'll go, what waste do you have? So, for instance, when people are getting processed carrot, if it's not the perfect dice that they ask for, it would normally go into like a compost bin. And I was like, well, can I get the waste carrot? And then I'd do a hard roast on that. And then I was like, what if we did like a carrot top pesto? So a lot of people, when they take the carrot tops off, so I get the green carrot tops. And then it's like, what if I get a vegan in? I'm not going to use sort of pine nut parmesan, that route. I was like, well, I know when they prep pumpkin, there's going to be waste pumpkin seed. So you get the pumpkin seed in and process that and make a pesto from the carrot tops and the pumpkin seed to give that mouth texture and a different flavor profile. And it's really fun when you get something right, and then people work out, they're like, oh, that's all from waste. And you're like, yeah, it's what we do. And it really gets our story across. And it shows that you don't need to have something that's deemed as perfect to make something truly delicious as well.
Is there a dish or two that you could take us through that you have on them at the moment that sort of speaks about the whole ethos that you have?
Yeah, of course. So currently at the moment, we've got an asparagus dish on. So we're using like all of the asparagus. So from the asparagus, I break it natural break, and then from the bits that is almost seen as too fibrous or too wiry, I go. We spoke to Matt, and Matt ended up making a asparagus katsubushi style. So he smoked it. Then it like sort of fermented in koji and hay, which and then gets dehydrated, and then it's grated in over the top of a drink, or it can be incorporated into a spirit to make an asparagus katsubushi flavor. And then we've got that with like a gochujang glaze, so make fermented pepper with like a sort of sugar vinegar reduction. We're constantly making vinegar. So we had a tomato pickling liquor, which was part of a drink, and we didn't use that drink anymore. So I made a glaze from that with the fermented pepper paste, and just with some spice nuts that we had that were kicking back from a previous menu. And it's sort of working with the larder that we've got and incorporating that into dishes. And, that's a really great dish and an example of what we do. And then, for instance, another dish we've got because my kitchen's so small, I've literally got a hibachi, a tabletop fryer, and a sandwich press. So, and it's behind the bar. So when chefs come in, they're like, oh, that's your kitchen. I was like, where's the rest of it? I was like, no, that's it. And it does make it really challenging. So we've got like a yakitori chicken dish. So we're using sustainable chicken thigh. And then we've got it with like a salted yolk mayo, some roasted yeast, and some togarashi. So the egg whites are getting used by the bartenders to make one of our drinks. This is strawberry fizz using second strawberries. So I was like, oh, what are you doing with the yolks? So they was like, oh, we haven't got use, you got use. I was like, yeah, perfect. I'll make a salted egg yolk mayo. Then we've got roasted yeast on there, which adds like a real umami flavor. So when we had an event that we had to make some donuts for, and I got fresh yeast, and instead of wasting it, roasted the yeast and let it dry out, create a powder, and use that as a seasoning as well. So it's sort of working closely with the bartenders, working closely with Matt, working with myself, and when we talk about new menu ideas and dishes, we all work together, and it's real great as a team that we're all on the same page and we all want to do the best. And even the eggshells can get used as an eggshell soda as well. So it's not just, we literally process every part of it, and it's amazing that you can use the shells of the egg. You can use the whites and the yolks, and then that goes in with the zero waste and sustainable way of what we do at RE.
What are the touch points, or, do you have any tips for those that want to sort of activate sort of more zero waste approach in their commercial kitchen?
Yeah, I think it would be great if chefs spoke more and be like, oh, we've got access to this, we've got access to that. I don't know if we can set up a platform and do that. But I think, look into fermentation, look into pickling, look into making vinegars, look into doing that. For instance, you can make black garlic, you can make a vinegar from asparagus or whatever you have, or tomatoes. You got some tomatoes that sort of, they're not at their best now. They're sort of going, look, oh, can I make a tomato vinegar? Can I make ketchup? Can I do this? I think it's about, really reading into why do we ferment? Why do we make vinegars? Why do that? It's practices that have been going for years. It's not like it's a new trend. It's something that, people have been doing for years. You look at the process of something that's popular like kimchi. It's not just a thing that's happened overnight. It's something that's been going on for years. And so for instance, I had excess cauliflower leaves before. I made a cauliflower leaf kimchi instead of using a Chinese cabbage. I was like, treat it the same, do that. And I think it is about thinking outside the box a bit, instead of just taking the easy step and going, oh, we can freeze this or do this, or we'll just throw that bit out. Think a little bit extra, think a little bit outside the box. And it's really fun and challenging. And I think it's really rewarding when you're like, oh, actually, this has made a really great product. I can incorporate this into a dish or eat this, do a staff meal. Then it's really important. And for me, I'd just say, yeah, think outside the box, do you. And, I'm open to answer people's questions if they ever want to think, oh, I've got access to this. Just drop me a message. And I can go, this is what I would do, and I'm more than happy to spread what I've learned over the years and help make a better environment and a better way of thinking with food.
Well, you're doing incredible things there at RE. What do you love about what you do?
The thing I love the most is a different challenge each day. I love working with a team that truly believes in what they're doing. I love being able to produce something that people sometimes shocked from having, like they're saying, oh, it's from this. And, from an early age, knowing that I wanted to be a chef and living out my dream and still being a chef after all the years. So been working for 22 years now within the industry, be it part-time into full-time, once I left college. I think sticking to what I'm doing and loving every moment of it. And it's something that I always wanted to do. And, for me, I think it's going back to the early ages. I'm doing my parents and my grandfather really proud. And I think when they all got to see me do Masterchef, the professionals as well on TV, they, it probably one of the proudest moments of my career, people being able to see what I can do, because I've sacrificed so much over the years, missing weddings, missing family arrangements, and from always working, and then seeing everything that I did over the years, it really, it was amazing feeling that they've seen me achieve my goals and keep achieving my goals.
Well, Josh, it's an absolute honour to have you on Deep in the Weeds today, to hear just a part of your story, and look forward to seeing what comes from here. Please keep in touch and we'll catch up again soon.
Cheers. Thanks, Huck. Been a pleasure.
This is the Deep in the Weeds podcast. I'm Anthony Huckstep. Stay tuned as we take a deep dive into the lives of the incredible people who ply their trade in the food and hospitality sector. Special thanks to executive producer Rob Locke for making this all happen. Follow us on Instagram at Deep in the Weeds Podcast, or email us at podcast@deepintheweeds.com.au. Stay safe and be well.